Hello, strangers on the internet. I come in need of advice, though I admit most of this will be pure venting. To set the scene, I, 29, have been friends with P, 30 since we were 12 and 13 respectively. We met in a Masonic youth group which, after years of intense therapy, I've come to regard as a cult, whereas she's still affiliated and actively participates in events for them, even though we aged out a decade ago. Our friendship up to this point has largely been held together by our similar interests in music, Broadway, and Disney. It's worth noting that while I enjoyed visiting the parks as a kid and the few times I've gone as an adult, I don't staunchly go out of my way to digest Disney content, and am incredibly picky with wearing merch in general. P, on the other hand, is what many would consider a Disney adult, wears almost exclusively Disney merch and goes on a Disney cruise with her and her parents at least once a year since I've known her. Some extra context I feel may be important. P has been wheelchair-bound her whole life due to a medical condition. Her parents still take care of her and, as politely as I can put it, give her pretty much anything she wants with minimal responsibilities. She's never had a job, never had a partner, and refuses to connect with other people who may also share her interests or even her disability. By her choice, I've been her only close friend, and as you can imagine, our dichotomy didn't always make for the strongest relatability as we got older. I'd challenge her in healthy ways to try new things and aim a little bit higher for herself, but it always got whittled down to I'm different / it can't be like that for me / it's harder for me, despite an entire population of handicapable adults who are just like her and are a lot more independent. To me, this always came off very self-loathing and internally ableist. But because she purposely kept her world small, me being her only friend became an insurmountable pressure once I moved away from where we grew up. For about 3 years after that move, she required a check-in over FaceTime every other week. Having never learned how to set boundaries with her, this kinda took over my life and negatively impacted my other connections. It also led me to burn out quicker because these calls were not short, 2 to 3 hours on average, and if I ever had to reschedule last minute, she'd get upset. Once I finally realized what was happening, I gently but firmly confronted P, saying we need to spend less time on FaceTime and more time actually living our lives. I got what I can only describe as a 4-month-long tantrum. My boundaries eventually were honored, but it's safe to assume we never fully recovered from this. Anyway, an hour after I got engaged in June 2023, I began calling my closest friends asking if they'll each be my bridesmaid. P got a phone call, celebrated in excitement with me. Then when I popped the question to her, she replied, yes, as long as I don't have a Disney cruise happening around that time. Mind you, my fiancé and I were very much on the same page about when we'd want a wedding before he ever proposed. Early November 2025. I communicated that to her and she gave me assurance that it should be okay. So I kept it pushing in spite of my fiancé and certain family members warning me that P's initial response was a red flag. Fast forward to now, and we're 9 months out from our early November wedding, and things need to start getting booked. I visited with P over the phone for the first time in quite a few months, and for the most part, everything went well. Then I remember to check in with her regarding the idea I had for my bachelorette party, asking her if she's still comfortable with what I chose to do so I could call dibs on the company's ADA accessible location and time. This is when she says, actually, I have to be honest with you. I won't be able to come to the wedding. P gave me 3 reasons why she could longer come, but actually there are 4 reasons. Her grandma in Hawaii is not doing well, swears this will likely be the last year she's alive, has said that verbatim every year for the past several years. As a result, her and her parents have booked extra trips to visit her this year because grandma's no longer able to travel. This is the only reason I understood the most, at the very least, for why P would want to drop out of the bridal party. High travel expenses due to her wheelchair, in her own words. I'm not like your other friends and can't just crash on your couch because of my allergy to your cat. Because of who I am and what I deal with, at least one of my parents will have to come with me, who were both on our guest list anyway, so that's extra airfare. Then we'd have to get a hotel and a car that can fit my chair because I can't use Uber, and whenever we rent those in Hawaii, it's $2,000, etc. Never mind that I'm now in the middle of the country where ADA vehicle rentals / literally everything is a fraction of the price compared to anything in Hawaii. For longer than I've been engaged, P's been doing a virtual internship that she's had to pay into to do, and now she's a contracted volunteer. P swears she's this close to officially getting a paying job with them and doesn't want to jeopardize her chances of that by taking more time off. This is the reason she highlighted the most, citing she needs to follow her heart on this one. But hey, what do I know? Even though I made my concerns known in the past that I don't want her to get exploited, and she told them she'd stay with them through the end of this year, paid or otherwise. Go ahead and collect your empty bag, I won't stop you. The fourth reason she didn't mention, but let slip earlier in that same phone call. She booked a second fucking Disney cruise for September. She's already taking one in April, which she admitted was the month she planned to tell me this decision to not be at the wedding. Well, there went those extra travel expenses. There went the additional time off you can't take for your unpaid internship, who's somehow more entitled to your time than your only friend of nearly 2 decades. Nobody in my camp is even surprised that this may be the real reason she's not coming, but all I am is mad. Not only mad at her for being so profoundly selfish, but mad at myself for giving her too much benefit of the doubt. The fact she said she even dreaded telling me means she's decided this a couple months ago, if not longer. All P kept saying in between her tears was that she was sorry, and she hopes I can forgive her someday. I told her nah, I need time, which is honest. She then tried to backpedal, saying worst case scenario, she can fly out that Saturday, be there for the wedding on Sunday, then fly back on Monday, which I expected most everyone from out of town to do anyway. I said no, it's okay, you made your choice, and we hung up. It's been 2 days since I lost her as a bridesmaid, and obviously I'm still hurt. P didn't just hurt me, she failed me. I made sure the venue and everything was accessible for her. I kept every guest's affordability in mind by making sure everything was 10 to 30 minutes away from airports and lodging. She and everyone else in the bridal party got over 2 years' notice for this wedding, and I felt like she used that time to string together every excuse she could instead of just keeping it real with me and with herself. She even wanted to be there for my dress fitting in a couple weeks. If not in person, then over FaceTime, which yeah, that's absolutely not happening anymore. I'm not saying I never unconsciously made mistakes in our friendship before, but I cared so deeply for her and took on so many of her issues when no other friend ever put me in that position. So I'm pretty firm in my beliefs on who the asshole is here, but I want everyone's thoughts on if it's worth telling her where I stand with her now. I exhausted myself just in recapping all of this as well as the context leading up to it, and no matter how much time will pass, I'll never be able to justify in my soul someone who says they love me prioritizing a Disney cruise over me. So I'm absolutely ready to drop her as a friend, but I also don't want to act too rashly and come off as a Zilla in the process. This really does go deeper than the wedding for me. Plus, at this moment, I'm not too confident she even realizes the gravity of what she's done, and that her second cruise even plays a factor into that. I keep going back and forth on writing out all my thoughts in my notes app and giving her the courtesy of my decision that she wasn't even going to give me until April. But also telling her wouldn't be for her, it would be for me. But do I really need that kind of closure? WIBTAH in confronting P that we're done, or WIBTAH if I simply ghosted her? I'm obviously confused and will give myself another week or so before I can figure out what approach would be best for me, but please let me know your thoughts and offer me some guidance on this. Thank you in advance.